are these people?
Kent State engaged. It feels like every other day is Kent State, and we're the people watching from the safety of the gate, muttering repeatedly, "We're gonna be okay." Little did we know our fate was forged and on its way. Little did we know our last names were on a collar with a binary chain. Little did we know they're only working through the A's, so at most we've got a couple days of listening to all those precious freedoms fade away, watching all your neighbors learn in real time how they never really had them anyway. Watching as we occupy ourselves, and you can try to occupy yourself, but eventually you have to reckon the embarrassment of seeing that the terrorists were speaking perfect English and they look just like yourselves. And you could smell a power trip distinctly American. You could hear the hate in their voices so well. You recognized the boots when they pressed into your face and the sweet familiar taste of the composite shell. And suddenly the film decides to pause itself. Suddenly the animals that wither in your cage would sooner claw themselves. Suddenly we start to see a fascist is a fascist, and it doesn't fucking matter what they call themselves. Suddenly we start to see their colors are irrelevant. Suddenly the film is turning black and white, and all the red and blue feels just as far away and long ago as civil rights. And suddenly it's Groundhog Day on the Kent State firing line. And you're a student holding up a picket sign. You're the dying breed before a generation born with all its senses in the sand unless it's dinner time. A generation undereducated in the hopes that their capacity for questioning their station might be minimized. A generation dancing to the same song witnessed by a million eyes. A generation struggling to save itself when all our means to aid ourselves were weaponized. Poverty was branded on our skin and we were tased or made to step aside. Kettled into gutters and the ruling classes laughing as they pass us by. A ruling class of warped, perverted sadists, so empowered by our capitalist system, their humanity's impossible to recognize. So fattened off our taxes and our blood and our misfortune that they'll never die. They'll be comfy somewhere else that Bezos terraformed and colonized, when Earth is sunken under waves of human refuse and we all get left behind terrified. Our first mistake was standing by and watching human suffering incentivized. The last of our mistakes was probably painted on a sign at Kent State that never made it past the censor's eyes. Shouted down to ashes under angry crowds of Semper Fi. When it's on your block, your only option might be frozen to the spot and truly petrified. Like you heard the first shot at Kent State and it went through your sign and right into somebody's side. And we'll all go down in history as police-assisted suicides. So tell the founding fathers that we sing the songs of patricide, chanted out in triplicate, unanimously ratified. And we'll all go down in history as police-assisted suicides. And that is Kent State engaged.
Who are these people?
So, Susan, catching a lot of flack. And I wrote this. I haven't shared it a whole lot today, or like at least I haven't tried to connect it to Roe v. Wade via hashtag, because she's already catching enough shit. And at some point, for a lot of people, it seemed like hard to separate the satire from the reality, even though I'm pinning wildfires on her. But yeah, had I only known what was a few days away, I might have included an extra line or two in this. All right, this is our Susan Sarandon song. It's called "How Could You, Susan." I remember well the golden age, 2015, feeling like the world would be okay. So Susan came along, and just to suit her selfish needs, she went and tanked the Hillary campaign. So you can go thank Susan for those nightmare years of Trump. You can thank her when he wins in 24. And if I had the chance, I'd ask why she won't cancel debt, and why she made inflation simply soar. I'd say, how could you, Susan, just throw us to the wolves? And why'd you let those wildfires burn? Why'd you make Joe Biden take back every single promise he made back when he still had votes to earn? How could you condemn us to a ruling fascist hand? And how much did they pay you for your part in Putin's plan? How could you destroy us with such reckless, cold abandon, Miss Sarandon? How could you? And on the album version, there will be a couple minutes of silence that I'll just be sitting and shaking my head. Just, That's it.
Reckless, cold abandon, Miss Sarandon. It's just how many words rhyme with Sarandon? I'm sure that Jesse has come up with just about every one of them, because it's not the only song that he's written. Well, you can definitely say Brandon also, so we can do it. Let's go, Brandon and Susan Sarandon. We can do that.
Who are these people?
Fresh off the mass is the brand new cancerous growth. Come here to vie for your vote. Come here to cry at the camps and to mourn at the shore for the bodies that float by the wreck of an immigrant boat. Then it's back to their luxury home, couple security booths and a moat. Couple cigars, little escargot, little booze and a soak. Breathe in the steam and the smoke. Pink salt, lavender, candles are low. When you do what you do, gotta lighten the load. Got a life of his own. It's a sight to behold. It's a lot to control. To decipher the code or to siphon the soul. See, the cost of a good night's sleep for the working elite is a bargain, no matter the toll. Worth any wager, and that comes straight from the mouth of the means to the goal. That swallows us whole. Ripe for the picking if you don't mind mold, and you know I don't. Maybe we're pleasantly prone. Maybe we're taking a licking, compliantly ticking and ticking and ticking, but never explode. Now, I don't deliver the prettiest image, but damn if it isn't an accurate vision, a natural fission of rage at the system, an abject heartbreak patiently waiting for any who will listen. That little blue bird who is watching your words is a federal carrier pigeon, a Langley first. It's a patient observer who hears what it wants and is trained for the worst. Oh, you got nothing to hide? Well, they'll be the ones to decide that after they root through your purse, after they read all your texts, after they raid your apartment, confiscate all of its contents, and conjure up evidence out of the air on a wing and a prayer and malicious intelligence nonsense. Any presumption of innocence gone right along with our comforts and constants. Now, historically, first they will come for the communists. So why in the fuck do I say I'm a communist? Well, it might be I love my community more than the monsters of opulence holding us hostage and vomiting promises. It might be I'm all done seeing our pensions and benefits harvested. Might be I'm all done watching the populace being disarmed in the guise of an armistice. Watching a woman collapse on the floor who will rise no more. She is wheeled out the door and you're next in line for the pharmacist. If you can get me to vote, it's a hard no confidence. Part of the charm of deception is politics wearing the mask of incompetence. It's all in the art of austerity, darling. It's all in the sleight of the providence. Till home is as wide as your cubicle height, and it's only as deep as your coffin is. Maybe I'm miles away from impatience and aching to break off the head of the snake where its capital lust and its reptile brain and its margin of profit is. Now off with his swish, drop of the guillotine, clean chop, pop goes the artery, arc across the treetops. Higher than the budget funding army gear for street cops. Workers of the world, hitchery stops. That's Depop Culture.
Who are these people?
Hey everybody, this is Jesse Jett. I am immensely proud to get to be a part of this. And I don't want to waste any of my time, so I'm going to get right into the songs. This is called The Dust of Better Days. This is a song about how far we've come into fascism and how important it is that we fight against it. SWAT team took your neighbor today. Watch them as they walked him away. You told yourself extremists come in all different shapes. Met his eyes and lowered your gaze. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to be safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Sheriff stopped your daughter today. Pepper sprayed her twice in the face. He must have had good reason if he'd treat her that way. At least that's what they've taught you to say. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to feel safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Feds arrived and had you detained. Said you'd made some posts they want changed. Tased you till you felt like you'd forgotten your name. Or life before they had you contained. Oh, life before they had you contained. SWAT team took your neighbor today. And that is the dust of better days. This next piece applies to Julian as well as several other people that spoke very uncomfortable truths to power. And I think the inspiration is pretty self-explanatory and is yet another great example of why it's so important that we get Julian out, why his freedom is representative of all of our freedoms. This is called Half Dollar. I found $50 in a dresser drawer. I spent the time I would have spent just staring at the floor, staring down at JFK, trying to imagine the immoral sort of irony that makes a nation feign commemoration of a man that it had murdered by the CIA. Trying to envision us if we possessed the healthcare he had talked about in '58. Now, I guess the takeaway is it's a piece of fucking cake to celebrate somebody's bravery once you've assured they're safely in the grave. And I bet if Pat Tillman were alive today, that he would say the same. And I'm sure we're in for more if they let Julian decay. I bet that they would put him on a quarter. I bet that they would name conference rooms in his honor at the IMF, the New York Times, the FBI, and Citibank. I guess the takeaway is it's a no-risk softball pitch to uplift somebody's image once their image is the one thing that remains. And the worst is when it's coming from a figurehead who's funding every agency that doctored the remains and working with the agency that authored the remains, the agency that obfuscates the facts and spins a constant storm of shifting blame. I guess the takeaway is that America will sing your praises loud as day to celebrate the fact you and the threat you posed have passed away. Shit, they'll throw you a parade, and business just as usual will live another day, and all of the insurance gods will bathe in all the praise and make donations rain. And all their winged, wicked little lobbyists will blow their horns and light the flames. The ceremony starts, and they in single column march up to the weathered onyx arch and sand the marker down that bears your name. So you no longer are and never were until your hideous rebirth within the corporate frame. Until you're back from the dead and then bound for all eternity in propaganda's chains. It's the very ritual that whittled down the legacy of Martin Luther King into a parable on unity for liberals to claim. And once they learned it worked, the world would never be the same. And now it's getting worse. I guess they're dialing in their aim. History is a straight line, but so's a moving train, which is heavily dependent on our infrastructure grade. We are building back better in a nation built on slaves. So you can guess the ultimate direction that a pathway to the future paves. They don't want you living, or they'd offer you a living wage. They don't want you feeding any homeless. It's just best to leave them freezing in the alleyway. They don't want you speaking words of hope unto the hopeless, or they'll do you up like JFK. I found $50 in my dresser, and I spent the rest of my whole day depressed because this constant drop in pressure means that you can catch the bends from simply sitting up in bed awake. No, it looks like 2022 is really not the year for you to have your lives improved. I guess you'll have to wait. But not to fret. Election season's just around the bend. Why don't you go ahead and save the date? So you can throw yourself before the magistrate and beg to have your family saved. You don't know the people you elect to lead you more than what their ad portrays. You can't tell their offerings of saccharin and arsenic from ordinary aspartame. You can't really comprehend the kind of greed this country feeds upon until you're Jackie O, wearing close to half a brain. And probably the half that would have seen us passing M4A. All to keep the pieces in their places in this never-ending profit game. All to weave a tapestry of ampersands, each allow a claim adjuster room to just dismiss you with a callous hand like fuck you and your meds. Fuck you for requesting a procedure that you need so you can stand. Fuck you and your family and your poor demands. So welcome to the land where we'll assassinate a man and then put him on a $50 stadium or stamp and proclaim ourselves the greatest country ever master planned, killing off its citizens, enriching all its brands. And that's $50. As it's probably evident, there is scant hope to be found in some of my lyrics. I wish the truth wasn't so bleak, but unfortunately, as Julian has warned us, that it is. That's where we are. And more than ever, that's why our truth tellers are so important. I'm happy to have at least one song with a message that I feel is a mobilizing, uplifting one, as much as I can muster. A song about how that helplessness, that feeling of powerlessness, at some point turns into the anger that you need, the motivation you need to do something, to have yourself be heard, no matter how it is. This song is called Powerless. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home.
And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. It's 'cause you are. They'll gladly stagnate a living wage, snap the chains and bury it. Labor slaves in rusty cages dragged behind a chariot, led by Mr. Racial Jungle, Joseph R. Iscariot, fighting over scraps as they barrage us all with variants and BuzzFeed clickbait, straight until we're paralyzed, trying to distract us from the concentration camps that Joe had swore he'd close, but only chose to amplify, where they got 50-something kids in cages made for 5 to occupy. And no, she hasn't seen the camps, but Harris swears they're paradise. She tells us the facilities are safe and that right down to the women, they are regularly sterilized. Then she throws her head back and she proceeds to laugh, that sort of heartless cackle you'd expect from someone working steadfastly on behalf of the virus and a Congress full of parasites. And where was I? Oh, I was busy cashing every blue check, demonstrating plainly all the narratives expected from the verified. I was busy breeding verbal leeches by the terabyte. Trained them to exsanguinate the wealthy while they sleep at night. Bleed the oil barons dry and barren. Say they showed us how to share and now we share alike. Tell them I contracted rabies from a feral mic. And now I'm just another species losing sleep to noise pollution and these glaring lights. I'm just forced to change my habits, adapt to just survive. But now it's safe to say that some of us are thriving in the moment, throwing shit on presidential homes beneath the Paris skies. So if you feel like you're just powerless, I guess you bought the lie. But I can tell they're petrified of our collective might, 'cause I can hear those gentrifiers weeping at the sight of our collective rights. And I only can imagine the intensifying fear of knowing revolution's near. And all that's left to do is simply wallow in the thick anticipation of a rabbit bite. And honey, one day you can ask your leaders just what that was like before you grab a slice. So if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. Honey, if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, and tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark, 'cause you aren't, because we aren't. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and make you build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, where they'll tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark, 'cause you aren't, because we aren't. And that's powerless. My last piece tonight is fittingly a piece explicitly about Julian Assange. He has crept his way into dozens of my lyrics simply because his case affects everything. And that's what I found writing this piece, was even when I felt like I strayed off the topic. You can't stray off topic, because you're still, if there's something you want to talk about, your right to express it, your right to protest, your right to know what happened in the first place. It all hinges on this. You cannot overstate how far-reaching the implications of Julian's case are. With that in mind, this is called Conviction, Winter in Belmarsh. If you thought you saw your freedom, it was truly a mirage. Freedom's locked a cell away from Julian Assange. Our First Amendment rights are by his side behind bars, and the next voices silenced will be ours. Rest assured, democracy is rotting in the dark. Rest assured, we vilified dissenters, pushed out black renters, and tore down their housing just to build a little urban park. I tell you, old America really knows how to leave its mark, how to blaze a trail and leave 100 scars. Rip your free speech from out your throat, demonize the man who told you it was so, and leave him freezing in a cell in Belmarsh, perpetually awaiting extradition.
thrown to the wolves of claustrophobia and malnutrition. And all that we can hope is that we catch Uncle Joe in a fleeting lucid moment of his flickering senile fascist mission. That maybe we could trick him into thinking Julian is just a sweet blonde middle school Christian, that she got mixed up with a few bad apples, slapped with some charges, and thrown into prison. Joe would set him free without a moment's hesitation under one condition, that he can sniff her hair before she goes back to school and he goes back to business. But if Joe's just had his shots, then we haven't got a chance of getting past his black and white vision, getting past his gut reaction to appease all of his donors' sick requests and shape policy and law around corporate mandated decisions. So really, all along, I think Julian was one man standing in a tempest with the fearlessness of true conviction. And if his is the only conviction we see after he shed a light on this country's most poisonous schemes all come to fruition, and we all collectively stare at the ground because we felt like our hands were too tied beyond signing petitions, while he is tortured to death for attempting to warn and enlighten admittedly not quite the brightest of citizens, and half of this country just won't take the time to uncover the truth, or they just don't mind, so they're quick to dismiss it and say it's a difficult position. Well, then we're back to the comfort of centrist delusion, right back to sleep for the ignorant sheep who resisted themselves into one protracted contusion, twisting themselves into knots to correct all your stimulus check-based confusion, wrapping their necks round their backs as they justify overflow migrant detention or fracking pollution. And then Kamala laughs, and the camera pans down to her shoes. And that footage is 90% of your 6 o'clock news, except for a feel-good story about a man who, at 95 years young, just made Employee of the Month at Whole Foods. And the $50 gift card means this month he'll afford his prescriptions and meals, and he won't have to choose. This is the machine that a man named Julian Assange threw his body on the gears of for you. So to cry out for his freedom is the least that we can do. Now, best believe the feds will serve to muddy up the truth, but rest assured the temperature in Belmarsh is an icy 22, and Julian is shivering in a solitary room without a view. Rest assured, Obama loves a whistleblower just about as much as he loves weddings where he doesn't get to detonate the groom. Rest assured, Obama bought the plot where all our First Amendment rights are gonna rot and demanded that they carve his smiling likeness on the tomb. So when you come to pay respects to your free speech rights and a somber feeling hits you and you look up to the sky, the answer will be staring you right in the eyes to the questions of why and of who. So if you thought you saw your freedom, then they wanted you to. Human rights are mutable, and Julian is proof. Our First Amendment rights are stuck in solitary too. And the next voice silent might be you. That is Conviction, Winter in Belmarsh. Once again, my name is Jesse Jett, and it's been a tremendous honor to get to perform for you tonight. Take care of each other, and above all, free Assange. Thank you.
Who are these people?
This is short. Yeah, so this is voting for spite. Bite the karma. Suck the rind. 2016 is a long rewind. Kick the Greens off the ballot if you like. Doesn't bother me. I'll be voting for spite. I once wrote Bernie for peace of mind. I might eat my vote. I might write Jill Stein because it's nice and divisive. Or I might just write fuck Joe till the end of time. Whip out my Bic, set the ballot on fire, throw it in the trash, and get back into line. The polling workers won't notice. They're 95. By the time they get wise, I'll have done it half a dozen more times and be halfway to Bezos's mansion, crash in and eat him alive. And I'd look his ass right in the eyes. I could tell him his wealth will reward a nation who broke their backs for a shot at a decent life, where they could do more than slave 5 days out of 7 so that he could be wealthy beyond a concept of size. I'll tell him his millions will thrive when he's sacrificed. Divvy him up and bring all of our citizens over the poverty line. Tell me you wouldn't repurpose Jeff if it meant there'd be no more Americans homeless and hungry at night. That's what I thought. Thank you much. That's my time. That's voting for spite.
That went over like a lead balloon in 2020.
Who are these people?
So here's like the George Strait version of Outsource.
My granddad was a miner mighty long ago in Butte, who spent his whole life scraping by who left his boots. And someone bought his bosses out and he'd outlived his use. Oh, they trimmed the wage and they hired someone new. And he learned that's what job creators do. Walking through the heart of town, I see my daddy's shop that he shut down when the superstore got put in down the block. And he didn't have a lot of choice to work there all the same. For half of what he made, he had into his name. He told me that's the way it is, that's business through. And he told me that's what job creators do. Well, I watched a lot of poverty start blooming in this town, and I seen too many families out sleeping on the ground. When I offered help, I got harassed by Sheriff Brown as he grit that kind of grin that said, I'd love to put you down. But if I owned a mine and I enslaved them for a crew, I bet he'd call me a job creator too. They'll tell you that 1,000 miles are hungry for your bread. They'll say that to succeed you need to step on people's heads. Those suckers might be starving, but it's better them than you. They'll tell you that's what job creators do.
That's Outsource.
Who are these people?
This is called The Dust of Better Days.
SWAT team took your neighbor today. Watched them as they walked him away. You told yourself extremists come in all different shapes. Met his eyes and lowered your gaze. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to be saved, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wait. Sheriff stopped your daughter today. Pepper sprayed her twice in the face. He must have had good reason if he'd treat her that way. At least that's what they taught you to say. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to feel safe, not meant to escape. We're not meant to wait. Feds arrived and had to detain. Said you'd made some posts, they weren't changed. Tased you till you felt like you'd forgotten your name, or life before they had to contain, or life before they had to contain. SWAT team took your neighbor today.
Who are these people?
On top of that. All right.
So this
we got-
piece, this is the spoken word version of what's going to be the title track for the Grift, for the next record. And that version does have a chorus on it, and I almost considered doing this acoustic, but I wanted to let this be a spoken word piece. This was such a combination for me of addressing some of the most ludicrous things I've been accused of being or doing from Twitter, you know, from being a bot, or the grifter accusation was really what set off this whole thing. Was like, what is my grift? If I have a grift, what is it? Is it being the guy that cries in his politics songs? Like what is, you know? And I was like, let's lean into it. Let's just really have as much fun with that as I can. And also ended up being the piece where I said anything I would want to say to have to someone that's giving me the lesser of two evils argument, or the most important election of our lifetime. I'm going to be wearing out the couple screenshots of a couple verses from this song soon on Twitter, because this was really the most succinctly I could put any of my thoughts, especially about the people that push that you know, that love to use the you know, oh, well, you're acting like you're not getting what you want at a restaurant, you know, or the people that say voting is like getting on a bus, because no matter what, it's a new destination. You're closer to where you want to go. You're not there yet, but you're closer. All that. It's so ludicrous, and it's such a mundane thing to compare such a serious issue to, that it's kind of telling in and of itself. So that was all ended up in this. Yeah, this is the Grift. Last stand, and I came to deliver. I've been called a Clinton operative, a Russian, and a grifter. By libs awash in student debt and proud to be an intern, sucking up to pigs who will get a tax cut in the midterms. You cut the ties, but never heal the wrist burns. Capitalist shackles wrap and penetrate like ringworms around the necks of those whose deaths will not affect the king's purse or the coffers of the company the king serves, who manufacture mandated tinctures, safety data hanging from a fixture, half a mile skyward, dangling from the rafters. My grift is sobbing till I'm cackling with laughter, so I guess I would have made a decent actor. I'd be great at crying on command until they cut plus 40 minutes after. When the director waves their hand, it ain't a rap, it's now a legal matter. My grift is weeping on a mic until I'm hacking up airstrike verses like it's bombs away and batter up, swinging on these bigots they keep killing us to fatten up. Kill the switch and eat the rich. I think they're finally fat enough. Grab your knife and fork, the world is yours, just say you've had enough. And if you're comfy, you can go ahead and laugh it up. You can tell me how the most important vote I'll ever cast is like the choosing of a bus, in that it might not take you anywhere you want, but no one can deny the fact the bus is now no longer where it was, and that's the kind of progress we should celebrate and trust. Spoken like a kid that never took a bus. Spoken like a piece of shit that used some cash to mask his stink and truly thinks he's one of us. Spoken like a terminally unserious person who equates our cries for rights to mixed up orders from a server. It paints a privileged picture of what you would label urgent, that the worst thing you've experienced in life has been the time your waiter accidentally brought a tray of gold-flake scallops when you clearly ordered gold-flaked urchin. And now you're storming out the restaurant and hopping in a Tesla you got 80 pounds of Tony Fauci merch in. It's best to place your bets on weaponizing the identity of every limp progressive claiming grassroots integrity. Policy is a slippery slope for all of its complexity, so flex your brave resistance with this Ilhan Omar NFT, numbered one of only 723. And each depicts her valiantly championing a bill before she lays it at a donor's feet. And she can throw her hands up in the air with AOC and say, if only Nina Turner could have voted present too. That's why we need another seat. We need some more progressives we elect to only tweet, who live to serve Humana and their label of elective slapped on every patient's gravest needs. As every station plays the theme, that medical professionals agree on the effectiveness and safety of injections authorized for this emergency. And in other purely unrelated news, the profits of the ones who manufacture vaccines just increased by nearly 36 billion with a fucking B. Sometimes it feels like we're the only ones that see. Sometimes it feels like all of us are lost at sea. And every time we think we see an island on the tip of the horizon, it turns out to be another measure making sure we're kept within the watchful eye of murderous authority. So I guess my grift is crying for the future they denied us, where the people who would buy us are a mockable minority. And we are more than genomes under warranty. And we are more than serfs in constant quarantine. If I had a single breath left, I'd let the chorus scream, I denounce our leaders claiming none for all and more for me. That's the grift.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
But yeah, this is Skin Suits. Gorillas in the mist, skin suits in the Senate. Water in the streets, chest deep like it's Venice. Water in a tap in Jackson comes blacker than resin. Black incidentally like most of its residents. Which is why it isn't on your television, isn't on the lips of your president. I'm admitting that as evidence. I am building a case to be made for the testament. Don't know what our collateral count is, but doubt it is less than the estimate. Show us a hospital. Watch as we Dresden it. Our propaganda is taken to heart and you're scarfing it, like it or not. If you think that you aren't, I would urge you to pick that apart because you're smoking it, eating it, driving it, dressed in it. We pay for it, pray to it, bathe in it, fill up the basin, and babies are blessed in it. Ask no questions, bask in the pestilence. When the plague goes live, you'd be wise to invest in it. When the plague goes live just between you and I, that's an industry sign that they're all done testing it. Come 2025 and they'll all be confessing it. And a few small fry fall guys all fly from the precipice, who were doomed to be wasted like shell corporations, dissolving to vapor, then gone with the resonance. Gone with the sense and the sentiments. Gone with the dust of the remnants. Gone with the ghosts of the regiment. Gone with the families in Gaza whose bodies and homes are demolished when Israel sets up a settlement. Gone like your chance at a settlement. Gone like the hope of apologies out of the ones who've been funding our deadliest research and backroom development. Gone like your shot at a measly I'm sorry from out of the mouths of our own bioterrorists. You can't imagine the face of the monster. You can't even fathom the scale of its carapace. It's under your feet, yet you're barely aware of it. It's quietly judging the scope of your suffering, sizing you up like a therapist, to rise in your guts like a parasite, growing in size and excreting a culture that's purely embarrassment. Equal parts Manson and Marilyn. Equal parts something we push into madness and something we'll gladly exploit and objectify 50 years after it perishes. Carefully crafted and planned and arranged like a monarchy's marriages. Cousins or otherwise, scourge of the colonized, staged and displayed for the sake of retaining imperial barracks, to expedite a special type of anglicized dysplasia, where half the world is waking up to learn they're being raided, raped, and robbed of all their heritage by Charles and his caravan of 30 servants' carriages. Each in the procession is worth infinitely less until eventually they're paid in sums of crown-approved disparagement. Bonuses of shame until they're finally told to thank the highest-ranking inbred pig proclaimed the king of every garrison, who rose into his power all immaculate like Harris did. Well, now the garishness is melting down like paraffin. It hardens in a shell that shelters terrified and threatened royal terrapin that rule with zero question, although nobody elected it. Democracy was here till we dissected it. Democracy was here until the exhibition exodus, and now it's just a husk we rendered barren. Well, I showed up at the banks and met a hooded man named Karen who was sailing in the fetid air eternally and quietly. He said for 50 cents he would shepherd me to where I'd find some solace for my spirit neath the diadem of piety. I said I can't afford the ride. Insurance went for every dime, and any wealth that's mine is of the paperless variety. So now in limbo on these crowded shores, I'm nothing more than refugee and refuse of a cashless new society. That's skin suits, y'all.
Who are these people?
So yeah, this is Apple Model 3 slave collar. Welcome to the future. Shit where you please. The Wi-Fi is great, but there's no more bees, so there's hardly any flowers. There are very few trees, and you'll pay $1,000 for some honey for your tea. But we got these awesome collars. Mine's an Apple Model 3. It allows for better movement than the Tesla X Elite, lets you customize the ads that it implants in every dream, and with a premium subscription doesn't shock you in your sleep. But it doesn't stop there. It can analyze your speech. If it hears disinformation, then it notifies police, and it's a swift re-education, but it knocks you off your feet like your booster every 7th week. I faced the future boldly, with 2 eager open eyes, and I picked a couple nuggets up that blew my fucking mind, like you can taxidermy someone while they're technically alive, and they'll shine when it's election time. The Democratic voter base will pay them zero never mind if voting for the scarecrow is a vote along their party lines. They could stare into its marble eyes and claim there's something dignified. Unlike real politicians, this one doesn't need an oxygen or kid supply. But its function is the same as those who came before. The goals are never misaligned. It spends its working time performing pre-recorded fleecing sessions where it sugarcoats your slow and hungry genocide, while pouring billions into Nazi coffers, all the while selling you the story that we're moment till the MiGs arrive. So ask Zelensky if he'll help replace our leaded pipes. Watch a fleet of Penske's show with stacks of bills in every size. It only took a black sun and a couple hiles. Honorary goose step in Nazi boots a quarter mile, all while Biden sneers his sordid smile. I don't know what was in this morning's vial, but it makes him stare 1,000 yards through all the prompters and the cards like he can smell the nearest child. His eyes are wide and wild, wider than the grave in which another 1,000 families were tossed in as I typed till they rose up to the sky unceremoniously piled. Which flies into the face of all the network ticker tape where the American economy has superhuman vitals. I like to think my trial's gonna play like a recital. I'll denounce the world around me and accuse the most entitled, who weaponize their titles, whose pull is something tidal, and who'd starve us all to death to best delight their blighted idol. So they might destroy the record, and I'll never get to vinyl. So my word is not immortal, but it's final. And that is Apple Model 3 slave car.
Who are these people?
Land of the free, and you'll know us by the trail of dead. Just one more world war to complete the set. Live by the pike, die by the pith, die wide-eyed, still pleading the fifth, or divine epithets in pathetic attempts at defense. All empathetic for those on your side of the fence. I'll gladly put you and your legacy into an alternate tense, faltering senses and altered events. Hun, it ain't a hearse, it's a reaper stretch. How sweet, she said. Bunch of hordes in the street like it's Evil Dead, where the thin blue line meets razor's edge, where the corporate ladder ascends to a steel-toed boot that awaits on the ledge. You'll be licking it fresh at your boss's request till it stomps each finger and watches you fall to your death and drown in an ocean of debt. Gone with the fodder, gathered to honor the patient left, who purity tested themselves into sections, step by step, till the next election, when it's just one them and the sound of their well-read theorized breath. Harm reduction for the lowly cost of you holding your nose and just openly buying the theft. Roll credits. Maybe it's all in the flick of the pen. Maybe we're all one unmarked van from a trip to the pen, guarded by pigs who exist on a diet of dying breaths from much worthier men. Honey, heaven's expecting you. Just don't get too hung up on who they let in. Just look at the shine of the pearly gates. You don't need to worry if there's lead in the paint.
You don't need to worry if there's lead in the water, lead in the milk, lead in the honey, lead in the caustic embrace of the Heavenly Father. Lead is the flavor of passive perpetual slaughter. Lead is the taste of us led to the ledge by the lure of the legend of expert consensus, then beckon to stretch it just one step farther. I hope that the folks who were boastfully gloating and toasting themselves as the heroes of COVID for boosting their boosters and doing their part are now equally thrilled to be martyrs, starstruck, laid in a government grave with anonymous markers. Back from the carvers and off to the splicer. The very first wave to be slain in the 100 years war against Pfizer. They are thinning the crowd that is striking right now to bleed adequate pay from the inhuman misers who sit in their office and designate coffins to people regarded as nothing but profits for Kaiser. Yet the Dems want you nicer. Dems want you softer. Dems want you kinder. The Dems want you graciously starving in silence. You speak when you're spoken to. Rest of the time, you and all of us peasants are merely depressing statistics neglected in Congress's binders. Bled, bone dry, then fed to the grinder. Headstones line each step as reminders. A lesson in object permanence learned in the furnace by workers consigned to the fire. Bled, bone dry, then fed by the fed to the grinder. That's buying the theft.
Who are these people?
All right, we're gonna try Toast to Dissolve. Even if I get only a quarter of the way and then I shit the bed, it's better than nothing. It's your birthday, by God. Let's see if I remember how to even fucking play this.
Anything or check your vittles and tickle it to throw beer and skittles in the lair of the witness. No terra firma for the kindred or the kismet. I deal in copper, motherfucker, this is business. So raise the masses. I speak for Cassius, Lucasios, cast in plastic, caustic and spastic, dripping off the lips of the frantic, just to boil in the oiled Atlantic. Hereby all of the Bibles are fanfic, penned by the fallible and overly drastic. Born God be gone one-handed. I present the list of the standard demands of the tantric. Out of my hands to dissolve. Out of my hands, oh, to dissolve. Out of my hands to dissolve. Out of my hands. Oh shit. God damn it. While you would think that we would factor satisfactorily, tally it mathematically, you have to see nothing's really as it seems, stacked like cattle in the back of the gratis factory. And I implore you to laugh at me, but any cat with half the span to grasp the plan of God for man dissolved his dividends, packed his contraband and ran. Cause we're approaching the days of Ayn Rand, of martial law, turning seed to sand. So you should keep your seeds at hand, because they'll reconstitute your retirement plan. Cause these days ahead are a retirement ban, where the limitless growth meets the hiring ban on your unemployed workers with a dime to their hand. For the love of money penny, this was damn sure planned. So let your banker tell you that the storms have passed, that it's safe to invest, that there's hope at last. But tear down your blinds and your blinders and your mask. Ask the folks squatting on your banker's grass if his spacious acres and his scraps for cats can support their family through a winter's wrath, can afford their children to attend the class, can it mend a gash or keep limbs attached? Can we, the torn union of broken glass, declare our souls hostage to thoughtless traps, submit that all odds are against our behalf, denounce the false gods of phones and apps, unlock the door, unscrew the latch, and witness the world that is not broadcast, the yearning and poor that the news has passed, who were shocked to conclude that the dudes who abuse the masses own the news and all of our asses, and they choose the worldview that pacifies millions of otherwise activists, that fogs the glasses of would-be advocates of all of our unfed, unsaid inhabitants. So till we're human, And no longer averages, no longer bargaining chips, pawns, or savages, no longer statistics mentioned only in percentages. Your grandiose Colombian superpower hemorrhages out of my hands, or to dissolve. Out of my hands, or to dissolve. Out of my hands, or to dissolve. Out of my hands. I'm gonna victory lap around my fucking neighborhood right now. Oh
Bro,
my
that
God.
was touch and go for a second, but he pulled it off.
It was.
He pulled it off.
It's like once it starts, as long as I don't stop, then I'm good. So that song is 10 years old, 11 years old.
Wow.
That I wrote. Oh God, was I living in the Keys when I wrote that? And that was the one that I've talked about when people ask, when did you first like do political music? That was a piece I used to pull out at gigs when I was playing gigs, 2 or 3 a day in the Keys. Once it was like kind of quieting down and you can kind of play whatever you want to play, I'd pull that song out, and that someone would always have to come up and be like, man, great set, but you can't do that political shit. That song, you shouldn't be doing shit like that. And I would always be like, man, fuck you. Why shouldn't I? Like, all the more reason I should do songs like that. And it's crazy because it sounds like something I could have written this week lyrically, and man, if you could have gone back to 2012, Jesse, and showed him a glimpse of the world 10 years later. Like,
yeah.
oh,
I don't know if he would have believed it.
Who are these people?
So this is the record. Now let the record show there are no morals, there are only lessons to be learned when you are staring down a precipice or hanging from a ledge. How can someone justify decisions that they made to everybody that depends on them, especially somebody who's too young to understand why you behaved the way you did or said the things you said? This is just a phase and I'll be happy when it's over. Call me Grateful Dead. Call me anything you like, my name is late for bed. Early for the sky, which by the by I think tonight I'll paint it fever red with the delirium of wildfire imminence. And this will burn your mission statement down, melt your churches to the ground, and only sound the smoke alarm when it's too late to salvage any grace or scrap a charred deliverance. See, my holy path led me to fast, and slowly I degraded till at last I bit the bullet, and it didn't do a thing for me, so now I suck the filament. And if I see a dangling ligament, I'll probably stand in awe of it a minute, then I'll probably start gnawing it. In one sitting, I'll be eating and violently shitting all of it. Then make a tape and send it straight to Parliament, like I think I've got what it takes to step behind your armaments. It's like my mind just can't sit still a minute, ill-equipped or insufficient. Incidentally, I just can't remember having instances of inner peace, just never ceasing bits and pieces of some kind of self-defeating terrorism. So I don't need some sign to point me toward the light, I'm trying to find out where it isn't. The glare impairs my vision. See? As long as I have free will and I'm willing. And there's the rub, there's the part that always takes a minute. There's the part that I don't have the heart to try killing. The little part of me I'm done explaining and distilling. The part that you don't think is worth the paper where you print the billing. Incidentally, that's the only part of me I ever found fulfilling. So every time a bell rings, a wellspring dries up, and I just gotta keep drilling. Until it's lost the meaning, lost the thrill, or lost the feeling. Till I could spit it just the same, looking out across a crowd or staring at the ceiling. And I could spit it just the same, looking down into the ground, where I'd be bound to find some kind of healing. Lost my job at the casino, my superiors conceded I was pretty shit at dealing. but I had scrawled that on my resume. I guess that they thought I had a sarcastic way with what I say, or maybe I just fumbled an attempt to be endearing. It's not the first time, if you'd believe it. It's not the first time I crossed the line when in my mind I heard myself say, leave it. It's not the first time that my head was in my hands and I heard myself say, beat it. Where's that tape? Let it play, let the record state, I think I got what it takes to finally step behind my sense of reason. Where's that tape? Let it play, let the record state, I think I've got what it takes to finally step behind my sense of reason.
Who are these people?
This is called Calling You Up.
We that cross, we won't speak. Was I this lost to find these streets where breathe no crowds, where rest no relief from you? We that gone, we don't need, and war so long, and with no sleep, and ask myself, do I take this release? And I do. I do. So breathe up, call you up, and karma crosses soon. See how I'm carving us a cradle from their cool. This loss, your sleep, to hold you once, to watch you weep, and once for the nerve, do I take this release? And I do. I do. So breathe up, call you up, and karma crosses soon. See how I'm carving us a cradle from their cool. Breathe, I called you up now. Karma crosses soon. And see how I'm carving us a cradle from the cool.
And that is Calling You Up by this guy.
Who are these people?
This is called Burying Us.
Now I move to the tide, I ponder my decision to the end of the line. Now a clearer vision, never waste my time, pulling my religion to the front of my mind, sing, I got no way, no end, where you come from, and I got no way, no end, what's to come. I got no way, no end, just who's burying us. But why should the wind fear the calm like you fret for your pulse? Let me tell you, love, sometimes I feel I'm just running while you hold the line. Sometimes I feel I'm just running while you hold my line. I ponder my decision to the end of the line. Now I clear a vision of a 12-mile fire, calling my decision to the front of my mind. Like I got no way of knowing where you come from, and I got no way of knowing what's to come. I got no way of knowing just who's burying us. But why should the wind feel the calm like you're bled for your bones? Love, we were further away in the field, but you fled for your rest. Honey, why should the wind feel the calm like you're fled for your bones? Oh. Got no way of knowing where you come from, and I got no way of knowing what's to come. I got no way of knowing just who's burying us. But why should the wind feel the calm like you fret for your pulse? We were further away in the field, what you fret for your eyes. Lord, tell me, why should the wind fear the calm like you fret for your bones? No. And that is burying us.
Who are these people?
This is Hyacinth, What More You Have to Give. You don't call, you don't write. How is that not to imply that you think what I'm doing must be right? Think that I'm doing all right. You don't mind giving up your rights. Don't mind seeing your leaders aligned with the violent right. Don't mind carrying water to pour on the altar where we plan to sacrifice all of your pensions in one of our nameless imperial rights that renders the rioters silent and pries every rhyme by its root in their heads, that quiets the storm by denying them platforms to buy up some time for the task force, crafting a law to detain them and mace them if they try to ask for their water and bread. Mind you, the bread looks like moss off a boulder from all of the mold, and the water is rusted and red. As bitter as all of the blood you hear pounding when you try to block out the sounds as you're lying in bed. Mind you, the bed is a spot on the floor, and there's really no more to be said. But you don't call, you don't write. If you knew better, there'd be mountains of letters outside, stacked to the sky, blocking the sun out, blocking my drive. You would slow the flow of my campaign funds down, my reputation in the ground by sundown. Good thing I got MSNBC on my PR rundown. To put you at ease, maybe give you a nice little neo-lib rubdown, and then blare my redemption from Breitbart to Cumtown. Flood all your free speech channels with a bunch of raw shit and shut the pumps down. Then usher out a couple dozen sock accounts to pop up in your mentions with their toxins stocked and talons out, here to help defend a man's dementia with the passions of a talent scout, selling you their bullshit while they're drooling half a gallon down the hat. They'll pull a rabbit out. Verbally, they'll strap you down, slap you with a finely crafted soundbite from the squad that you could try to feed your family with, or play back for the officers arriving to evict you in the hopes that they won't snatch you out. But big surprise, their clubs are out and masks are down, impolitely asking you to pack a little faster now.
just to please the bastard with the fascist tats and badge that makes him think he's someone actually of matter, not an actor playing overseer at the sick behest of benefactors who will starve as many families as it takes to make their profits fatter. And then when they tell those loyal cops their kids are on the chopping block to sate their daily greed and need to satisfy their hungry stock, statistically, 2/5 of these are all too pleased because it just means that they can beat their spouses without all those little weak attempts to make them stop. I was watching TV, screaming, "Make it stop." Screaming at that cable feed of double talk. Screaming at the Daily Razor shaving down our labor laws. Screaming at the left like they can wave a wand and change it all. Screaming at the leaders we gave time and trust and money to who played us all. We the people, tattered rags and paper dolls. Screaming at our debt and at these overfed pigs who create it all. Trying to teach the ways of the world to my son like I don't hate it all. Stone soup, cops came and ate it all. Waters for the homeless, cops are gonna break them all. Education budget, cops are gonna take it all. Send your kids to prison, think about the time you'll save us all. Years later, fucking goddamn it, years later, you'll be lucky if you're paid at all. Years later, you'll be wired to a grid that turns your brain's electric current to a resource they can strip, and we'll all be mining Bitcoin 80 hours at a clip. Too tired for the drive home, it ain't worth the trip, because it hurts to be reminded that you never see your kid. And then every time they fire up the hub and plug you in, their memory recedes a little further till it blurs into the dim, until you can't recall your kin. Open up your eyes and you see Tesla on your skin. Earn a dime a day and owe them 20 for the mandatory membership to Tesla Gym. We're all one big happy family who neutralized your family at the gates when they tried to sneak a message in. Who taunts you with escape in their advertising messaging. Taunts you with the sounds of a child at play, a warm summer day, the things we can all sense slipping away because their frequency is lessening. You are working for a living in which you are only visiting. Working under safety laws that profit ends up pivoting, shifting into figures in which losing you is just the cost of maximizing profit in the world that we do business in. The world in which we fight to see the bright side, but always get the business end. And I've been here in wait since late '08 to witness this descent, suck my soul away in little bits, a dime a day, but with a monthly cap of 50 cents. Because Tesla-funded studies show that overpaid employees don't know what to do with all the extra money because they're lazy and they're ignorant. But all that extra capital keeps innovation radical, and you can say that you were part of history in the making in the unacknowledged, patronizing, strictly honorary sense. Now we understand you may resent that Mr. Musk was heaven sent to take you on his back for his divine ascent. And just before he reached the palace gates above the firmament, he dropped you on the outer steps a month before retirement. Again, may we refer you to suggested ways of demonstrating gratitude to Mr. Musk that he was kind enough to let you feed his great Leviathan. Tesla-funded studies show that you amount to nothing in the hours you're not wired in. Hours you spend quietly denying that you let them in your head or let them walk potential buyers in. Mind you, all of this a mere month before retirement. And mind you, your retirement is waiting in the dirt that feeds the hyacinth. Or maybe, if you're lucky, you can spend another year assisting researchers in biosynth. Now, mind you, that amounts to nothing more than torture, but they wipe your memory after every session, washing out all prior sense. Think of it as Mr. Musk absolving all your prior sins. Don't think of it as skinning you and fitting you with trial limbs. Think of it as Mr. Musk presenting you the opportunity to help America's elite achieve tighter skin, fuller lips, healthy eyes, smoother lids. Don't think of it as rape. Try to think of it as Mr. Musk assigning you a mate because America needs cattle. I mean, kids. Don't ask what Mr. Musk can do for you. Ask yourself if there is something more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give.
And that's Hyacinth.
Who are these people?
Wait, turns out I have something else to say. But words have let us all down. We are in the waste now. If we choose to lay down, let them bring our wage down. Nancy, once you face down, pray. If you find resilience in your faith, 'cause it's on all of us to lead the way. It takes all of us to lift the weight. We were told it's normal and required that we suffocate. Wait, 'cause I will not be carried to my grave in perfect health and perfectly awake. The earth is not the sweetest of escapes, but the surface is a merciless, purpose-sickened place. Don't stay. Tell him that he doesn't have to stay. Hold his hand and let him slip away. There is nothing here that's worth the wait. Nothing good is waiting in the wings. Don't stay. Oh, don't stay. All our lives just frozen in time, frozen in time. Only so much shown through the eyes, shown through the eyes. All our lives just frozen in time, frozen in time.
Who are these people?
Yeah, this is called Radigan.
I don't wanna say it all myself, 'cause now you can see it. I don't need to say that I lost myself, 'cause I didn't need it. Whoever I was when it started, I think that they'll stay in the past. And if that's all that I've lost when it's over, I'll be happy with that. I don't have the inflection for commercial rap appeal, and I'm a little too subversive to be verified. Now if someday I should reach 10K, I'll retract it, I'll admit it, and I'll clarify. But in the meantime, I'll be underground where the air's beyond rarefied. And honestly, it's barely there, and honestly, it's paradise. I don't have a label that can tell me how my lyrics aren't conducive to the royalties of parasites. No, I'm just one man in an 05 GMC with an iPhone 8 and a low-end mic trying to take down the DNC. Stay up late and go into a rage and report all night, then wake the next day like, damn, that's me. So honey, trust me when I tell you that your fury will articulate those things you're afraid to believe. You can tell, cause I shake when I speak, that there is anger in the air we breathe. And it's been liberally applied like the label of progressive. Slapped on every neoliberal spamming you their message. Slapped on every Buttigieg that tells you cozy up to your oppressor. Pardon me if I don't trust a word out of Radigan the Lesser. But don't shut your eyes, love, the more you know the better. The worse you see, the sweeter. Cause a peaceful revolution doesn't really fill a theater. A flint will start a fire, and flint water douses it. But if you think it's safe to drink, you must have skipped the Kool-Aid and gone for the ether. Cause I think you're fucking dreaming. Are you? No? Good. Me either. Alright, let's take a short breather. I don't need to say it at all myself, cause now you can see it. I don't wanna say that I lost myself, cause I didn't need it. Whoever I was when it started, I think that they'll stay in the past. And if that's all that I've lost when it's over, I'll be happy with that. Be happy with that.